From the bright lights of concert halls to the practice rooms, every classical musician embarks on a journey shaped by passion, resilience, and dedication. But what does it truly take to get to the top of classical music? For most, it begins at a young age, a spark of curiosity, a moment of inspiration. Long hours of practice, rigorous lessons, and ambition are only the beginning. Behind every performance, there's a story of sacrifice and a pursuit of excellence. In this documentary, we'll explore the paths taken by classical musicians. We'll uncover the unique journeys that brought them to where they are today and reveal what it means to devote one's life to music. Ben Fried, also known as Benny Fried, began his musical adventure at the age of 2, starting with the violin before discovering his love for the cello. By the time he was 11, he had impressed Hans Jensen, a well-respected teacher at Northwestern University, who welcomed him as a private student. Ben continued his education at the Eastman School of Music, Mannes College of Music, and USC Thornton School of Music, where he learned from notable mentors like Steve Doane, Timothy Eddy, and Andrew Schulman. As a concert artist, Ben has earned recognition for his engaging performances. He has excelled in several prestigious competitions, including the Grand Prize Virtuosos Competition and the Fischoff National Chamber Music Competition. His international career has taken him to countries such as Canada, Poland, China, Denmark, and Iceland, where he has performed with various orchestras, including the Eastman Philharmonia and the Downey Symphony Orchestra. Him and his wife, Connie Kim Shang Fried, are also passionate about teaching, combining their love of music with mentoring young students. With his wife, they founded Fried Music, a space that strives to encourage the highest level of music making in students of all backgrounds in downtown Alhambra.
Okay, hello. Before we get into the interview questions, I would like you to introduce yourself to the fellow viewers.
My name is Ben Fried. I'm a cellist and a teacher, and I'm also a business owner, and I have Fried Music in Alhambra, California.
Yes, you do. Okay, so I heard that you started cello at a very, very young age, and I was wondering if you had a specific moment where you were like, oh, I really want this as a career.
Absolutely. So yeah, I started cello when I was 3 years old. I actually started violin first, but they gave me a box that had a stick instead of an actual violin.
Oh.
And so then I tore it open.
Oh my god.
But then a girl came into my preschool, actually, she played cello, so then I
Oh,
started
yeah.
cello. But then, if we talk about then becoming professional, I didn't decide that until I think I had like one of those aha moments in high school where I was in the car and then I was like broodingly listening to music at night. I think I was like, I don't know, typical high school feelings. And then the second movement of Beethoven's Cello Sonata, played by this amazing harpsichord player who was playing forte piano on one of Beethoven's pianos, and then Baroque cellists were playing the sonata. And the second movement was just so transcendent. It just made me experience something like I'd never experienced. And that kind of just threw me into seeing that, I can't do anything else.
Okay, so you said that you wanted to pursue cello as a career. So then, do you have any significant mentors that helped you out develop your musical career?
Absolutely. I think every single teacher, I mean, my first teacher when I was a little kid, she was amazing because she really instilled a love of music into me, and she was very gentle, very caring and warm. And then as I got older, I had sort of 4 really serious teachers, and each one of them gave me something else, and they each had their own perspective. And but I really would try to, when I studied with one of them, sort of submit to their way, and I learned a lot. So that then after the fact, I can kind of draw from all of them. But everything I think I owe to my mentors.
Okay, so I heard that you went to USC for performing. Do you think college life really helped you in your musical career?
Yeah, I think so. I think that for a musician, mostly college is, first of all, you get to study with a new teacher and a really great teacher. And so that's a big deal. And that's kind of the primary thing that you're doing there. But then you build a network of friends and peers, and you're in an environment, and so then that environment sort of makes you shift your worldview into being really a musician, and then start to also build very practical professional connections for the future.
Did any of the networking help you?
Oh, big time. I mean, at our school, every single teacher that works here almost went to USC.
Oh yeah,
We met them, the faculty, we met them all at USC or years before, and then almost everything we do professionally leads back to somebody that we might have known either growing up in high school between Connie and I, or, very recently at USC.
Okay, so do you think you were really nervous when you went to college as being a cello major? Because there's so many good cellists out there. Were you nervous or?
I never really cared about that. I didn't see it because everybody says that when you're going to go into music. They say to you, it's so competitive, this and that. But if you want to do it and you have the drive, you find a way to make a career that works for you. And so I think when I was younger, I might have been more, I thought there was only one sort of hierarchy of people in the world, and you just had to be the best in the world, and that's the end of it. As I've grown older, I've realized that everybody can kind of find a place and a way to make it work for them. But you have to really love the music and dedicated to it, because it takes a long time to develop a career, and it's hard. And so, if you're not really, I think, for me, I was just always kind of so obsessed with the music and the cello playing that it kind of didn't feel like much of a choice. But I didn't think too much about other people, because I have a tendency then to just, I'm a little competitive, so I just wanted to beat people anyways.
Do you think your peers influenced you in a good way?
Huge way. I think that's why we built the school the way that we do, with you guys playing for each other all the time, because my peers, I learned so much from them, all the way from when I got really started to get serious, probably going into high school. The peers are the thing that really put, because it's one thing to see somebody on YouTube. When I was a kid, you'd see on a CD or something, you'd listen to a CD and you'd hear amazing playing, or you see it on YouTube. But then to witness one of your friends, for instance, go up and do a great job and play something that you think is really hard or you think you could never do, it makes it something that's actually you can grab in this world and you can actually do. And so your peers really drive you to, I think your peers really drive you to success.
I see. You said you have a very deep love for music, but do you think there was a moment where you were like, oh, this is too hard, I just want to quit?
Yeah,
Really?
a couple moments, yeah. At junior high, I remember, my mom, she used to be she's not a musician, but she was like really forcing me to practice for a long time, but then I started fighting her so much. I used to try to get out of lessons by, I would miss the bus, and then I'd call her and I'd say, oh, I missed the bus, so my friends, I'm gonna go hang out with my friends, I'm sorry, I missed the bus. And then one time I did that, and then I saw her pull up in the car so fast around the corner and just yank me into the car and yell at me all the way down to my lesson. Still had to have my lesson. But anyways, there was some friction with that, and so she kind of backed off. But then I was lucky because then the next mentor that I had studied with right around that time really instilled a lot of motivation in me and helped me through. When I got after college, actually, I wasn't sure actually professionally if I wasn't sure what the reasons were necessarily that I was doing this. And so I did an extra year. They had a cool program at my college where you could take a 5th year in anything you wanted to for no money. And so I took like economics and things. And that really made me want to do music.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to do any of this.
Yeah, a little bit. It was just like, I get it now. Like I missed it a lot. And the school I was at, Eastman School of Music, which is part of the University of Rochester. And so, but it's a different campus normally. And so then I was spending a lot more time on the other campus with like kids that weren't in music. And then I knew the musical people and everything, and the life was kind of for me.
What do you think the biggest difference is between like musical students and like the other majors?
That's a good question. I think actually music students are pretty intentional about what they're doing. I mean, a lot of other college students, not all of them, but a lot of them, they go into college and they're kind of thinking about a major and they're taking a lot of gen ed classes and they're sort of trying to sort things out. Music, most kids going in, at least at that moment, people change their mind after a lot, but people going in, they're all there to do it and they're pretty ambitious. And so I think there's a real intensity about music students everywhere. That is certainly palpable, that you don't necessarily find. I'm sure there is in other fields too, but music, everyone knows, I think everyone deep down knows how hard it is and knows that they've got to give it their all.
Do you think your love for music like increased after going into college?
I think it changed.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it changed. I mean, in college, another thing you do is you learn. I mean, before college, I did learn some theory and things like that. But once you get to college, you really bear down on all of your theory, music history, and you get to play in different types of ensembles, new music ensembles, historical, Baroque music ensembles, things like that. And so you just get deeper in this world. And so then I think you start to appreciate it not just as the sort of natural, beautiful connection that you might have to it as a person, but also start to appreciate sort of what really makes music. At least for me, that's what started to speak to me, was trying to understand what it is about music that connects me to it and what connects it to the people around us, and how to perform in a way that you can bring that to people, and also how to practice in a way that you're giving yourself something to. And so I think my relationship, it's just maybe it was a little bit like I didn't understand it as much before college, and then I started to understand it. But college was also hard, and so it did cause moments of questioning and things like that too.
Did you get a lot of pressure?
Oh yeah, a lot of pressure on myself, big time. I mean, I kind of operate like that, and there were certainly moments where I felt like tons of pressure and not that much support. Not that the people around me weren't supporting me, but just that I felt like I wanted more, and I wanted more out of myself, and I felt like I wasn't getting it, and I was frustrated.
Did you have like a vision to what you wanted in college as a musician? or were you just like, I want to just work hard?
Kind of the second one, honestly.
Mm.
I think music's the kind of thing, and that's been my philosophy, is like your number one priority when you're younger, even through college and even through masters and is even later, but it really, college for sure, is you have to get as good as possible as you can, and you have to understand the music as deeply as you can. I think after the fact, if you do that, then the other doors are much more open to you. Sometimes I think if you decide too much in college, oh, I'm only going to play orchestra, I'm only going to play chamber music, this or that, I'm only going to play solo music, repertoire or something, like you end up limiting yourself and not allowing yourself to just focus on, I mean, that's also the very nice thing about college for as a musician, you get all this practice time. The world is open to you in terms of practice time, and you're supposed to be doing that there. And so the best thing I think that you get to do there is just practice a lot and try to get really good.
After college, people say that like classical musicians have 3 pathways they can go to. Either it's like solo, or like orchestra, or like teaching. Did you have like?
I think it depends where you live. I think something that I love about LA, for instance, is that it's really possible here to have a very, very multifaceted career in terms of doing, I mean, that's kind of how I work, is I like to do sort of a lot of different things. I don't think I could do, like for me, for instance, teaching and performing, it's like if I wasn't performing, teaching would feel dead to me, and if I wasn't, I love teaching and I learned so much about performing too from teaching, and it feels like I learned so much about the music too and the connections, and I learned so much from all the kids. It's like that helps the performing side, and so for me it's more of like a balance of different things. And you know, I've never been like a huge orchestra person, but there's a chamber orchestra here that I play in, you know, sort of frequently, and like in that case I love that, but only a little bit of that, and it's like percentages. Yeah, it does, and that's, I think for me, that's how the life gets set up to be a happy life, is that you have a way to balance so that you're really, you don't pigeonhole yourself and say like, I am this and this is all I do, because then you also end up rejecting a lot of opportunities that maybe might lead to another opportunity.
But do you think you had any like struggles after college in like those pathways?
Oh, big time. I mean, huge, because especially, that's kind of what I was saying earlier about you need to love the music. It's like after college until you're probably like 20, I heard this from somebody too, it's like until you're about 28, it's very, very difficult for most to really
like
know survive and also know where they kind of sit in the world of music in terms of what they want to be doing. If you can find a way to survive and you love the music and you kind of keep headway through it, then I think as you get older and more mature, you can start kind of making mature decisions about how to set up your life in a way that it's actually sort of functional. But yeah, no, I mean, the questioning is, of course, you're saying, look, the people around me too, like they're progressing in life, maybe, you know, getting stable jobs, things like that. And with musicians, we're delaying that because we're kind of investing in the future more. But that time period where you're sort of waiting and just like you're bottom of the barrel anyways because you're young and you don't have experience, it's a tough one.
Is one of your decisions like making free music like really, really like significant?
Yeah, that's a huge one for us. I mean, that was like, it's still crazy. I mean, but it was like establishing the school was basically us taking a lot of our dreams and then deciding to actually put it on the line and try to build something. We love it, and it's been hard. I mean, it made our lives on a certain level very busy. You know, put a lot more financial pressure on us than would have had to be if we didn't do it. But then we loved it so much, and we see the vision of the future, and we saw how to make it work financially.
Did you have like a specific goal in mind while making this business?
The manifestation of the business came out of somewhat of our needs. Like, we knew that with all of you guys, we loved teaching you guys at the house and things like that, but then we felt like we were missing a lot, and there were all these things we craved. We wanted you guys to have performance classes. We wanted you to have an environment like the pre-college where you could all be together. We wanted you guys to be able to come here and practice, and we wanted to be able to create a nice network of more teachers so that it wasn't just Connie and I.
Then can I ask you about your creative process
Yeah.
while you're learning music?
Yes.
So, do you have like if a composer writes music, do you interpret it in your stance, or do you take the composer's story and play music?
That's a really good question.
How do you balance
that? Yeah, that's a huge question. My philosophy on that is that ultimately it is our lived experience that we're communicating with the audience, because on a deep emotional level, when we're on stage, we're living out an experience for them emotionally. And that experience is something that is our emotional experience. It's like if you separate the music, whatever, it's still our emotions from life that are being shared. Now, your job as an interpreter, let's say you're looking at Brahms and you're seeing accents, for instance, there's harmonies, there's all these elements that we see that give us information from the composer about what the experience is that they're trying to create. But then it's so then our job is to take that and put it into an emotional lens that our bodies can understand and our sort of subconscious can understand, and then the subconscious of the listeners can understand. But I would say it's dishonest if we don't take all of the markings on the page and take them seriously and try to make meaning out of them with integrity. So you can't ignore accents, or you can't wish that he didn't put an accent and not put it there. If you find out the accent's there, it's your job to make sense of it. But if you do that and you're honest, and a lot of it's about personal integrity, then I think it's really, you're doing the right thing.
Connie Kim Shank-Fried, born into a musical family where her father's side are significant figures of violin. Her mother, Julie Kim, was a successful private teacher. Connie Kim started her musical journey at the age of 3, getting taught by her mother. Then, at the age of 11, she was accepted into John Perry's private studio. At the age of 15, she won the Virginia Waring International Competition, leading her to debut with an orchestra. She has performed with several orchestras, including the YMF Debut Orchestra and the Northridge Orchestra. Her most notable achievements are top prizes at the Los Angeles International Liszt Competition, the Rio Hondo Concerto Competition, the New Orleans International Piano Competition, and the prize winner at the Eastman Young Artists International Piano Competition. She was also the winner of the annual concerto competition at the Glenn Gould School of the Royal Conservatory of Music, performing Rachmaninoff's Second Piano Concerto.
Could you give us a brief introduction of yourself?
So my name is Kai Kim Sheng Free, and I am a pianist, piano teacher, and business owner.
You also started as a very young age, like Mr. Brand. Do you think that gives you like an advantage over the musicians?
You mean musicians who started later?
Yeah.
I think yes and no, actually, because I think when you start so young, it's not like you start by choice, right? Because you're 3, and your mom or your dad, or usually your mom, puts you at the instrument, gets you started. And so I think that the advantage is obviously the multiple years I have on top of people who start late. It's definitely an advantage. But then sometimes when kids start later, they choose to start the instrument, so there's already like a love for the instrument. I developed it over time, but definitely I would say that's the major difference.
Well, do you have like a specific moment where you're like, oh, like I want this as a career?
Well, I've actually, to be honest, I've always enjoyed being on stage. I've always enjoyed performing. And actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, I think there was that defining moment when the first time I played with orchestra was when I was 15, and I played Kofi's first concerto. And I remember coming off stage and being like, that was so fun. And that was actually the first time when I came off stage, I was like, that was so fun. Because usually I would get nervous and I would enjoy it, but that was really pure fun.
Do you think, like, so you also went to USC, like Mr. Friend. Do you think it's beneficial?
The degree or the school?
The degree and the school.
That's a very complicated question. I think USC has good points. What I liked about their doctorate program was that it was reasonably flexible and not heavily academic, which as someone who always went to conservatory, I didn't really want to do too much academics. But I think on the same side of the coin, like going to conservatory and then going to USC, it was a very, very different environment. People weren't as intense about their practicing and their playing, which in a way made me relax. I don't know if that was a good thing, but it did happen. It helped me connect with people with the LA scene, because now we're based in LA. We stayed in LA, and everyone who works here has been in some capacity met at USC. So yeah, there's good things. The program has some issues with it, but I think that's everywhere you go.
Well, was there like a career decision that you made that impacted your success as a musician?
Oh, yeah. Actually, I think what it was deciding to take teaching seriously. I think a lot of musicians tend to avoid making that decision because I think what they think is it devalues them as performers. But I would argue that some of the greatest performers and musicians that we look up to are also really
Good teachers.
amazing pedagogues. And maybe they're not so much performers anymore, but they're definitely amazing musicians.
After college, like, did you want to do teaching?
I think a part of me always knew that was going to be part of my career because.
Oh, you looked up to your mom.
Well, she always taught, and I knew that was part of being a musician. My mom would always tell me though, she was like, I don't want you to teach like me. She said that growing up. She'd be like, I don't want you to end up like me. And so it was interesting because I think she also instilled in me this idea that teachers were like failed musicians. That's really not true. It's not true at all. And teaching is actually a really beautiful thing because it's really truly nurturing the next generation of musicians. It's a very powerful
Were you ever like lost after
Yes.
college? Were you like, what am I supposed
I was
to do?
lost between masters and that. I feel like I did my master's too quickly after my undergrad. And then so I finished my master's and then I kind of was like, now what? And I felt like I was going nowhere. So I kind of had my quarter life crisis and then was like, what am I doing? And after 2 years of that, I decided I wanted to be back in LA. So I applied for the USC doctor.
Was there ever a time when you're like, I don't want to do it?
That was during that time. Well, I mean, not seriously. Because
It was just so hard.
well, I mean, I always knew music was gonna be, but then I was like, oh, I can barely get myself to practice.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But I think everyone goes through that at some point in their lives. Some people older, some people younger. But at some point, people have this awakening because they go like, what do I want to do for the rest of my life?
Was it because you kept on like driving yourself like during your younger years?
My mom kept driving me. She was a really intense tiger mom. And then so when she kind of like, her clutches were off of me in college, I stopped practicing. And then, I mean, I did have the motivation when I had competitions and when I had like recordings, like things I had to do. Yeah. But I think looking back, I still didn't practice as hard as I should have. And I don't blame my mom for that. But I think because I never really nurtured or developed the inner motivation and ambition to practice on my own terms, because I was so used to someone screaming at me.
Were there any like peers or your teachers, mentors that helped you throughout college?
To be honest with you, I felt really alone in that capacity. And I think that also didn't help me. Because my teachers were frustrated with me because I didn't practice enough. They were constantly like, you need to practice. What are you doing? You're so talented, but you don't need to. And I'm like, ooh. But I don't know. I mean, and they cared, but I think
There was a disconnect.
to some degree they didn't care enough because they were too busy. They were too busy with their own career. They were too busy with the 50 other students they have, the 2 schools that they teach at. Like, you know, at the time my teacher was also teaching in Colburn and in Toronto and at USC. And he was flying all over back and forth. It's like, how much time can you really dedicate to one person?
Well, do you have any advice to like, young aspiring musicians?
Like you?
Yes.
Number 1, practice a lot. I mean, seriously. If you don't practice a lot, then you regret it. That's it. I mean, I think maybe you want to hear me say some beautiful, moving advice. I wish I had that for you. Everyone's going to be different, though. Everyone has a different idea of what their perfect future is, or what they want to do, or what their ambitions are. No matter what, though, if you practice a lot, your doors open. That's what I said before. Doors open to opportunity if you practice. If your ability is high, if your skill level is high, no matter what you want to do in life, those doors are open and you can walk through the one that you choose. You don't practice. You can't play your instrument. There's nothing you can do.
Did you practice like a lot?
Well, I practiced when I was in high school. I was practicing 3 to 4 hours a day, and then weekends was like 6 hours a day. And then my mom was like, "Okay, we should homeschool." And I was like, "Okay," because at the time I was like, "I can't handle this." And I think it was a good decision because I did practice
more,
an insane amount, which I think that's also why I didn't practice so much in college, because I saw other people, and I mean, I'm not trying to be arrogant, but my technique and my ability to learn things and play things quickly was higher than everybody else, because I had so much practice time on top of these people, and I think, but that made me go, oh, okay. So that's why I don't want to point fingers at anybody, but yeah, I think that if I had kept doing like this, my career would have looked different. Not that I regret my career at all. I love what's happening now in my life.
Well, is there anything that you like wish you knew before like jumping into the classical music world?
You should practice
That's
No, I mean, actually what I wish I knew was that your career can look as diverse as mine does now.
Mm.
Like when I was growing up, I always thought it was competitions,
Mhm.
solo career, that's it.
Oh,
Yeah, and then so what happens is a lot of young musicians that are really ambitious for a solo career, if they don't get it, which by the way is so hard to achieve, it's almost impossible to survive financially on a solo career. It's just almost impossible. There's like you can count on one hand how many people in this world survive financially on only performing, or maybe two hands. I don't know.
Then how do you like
But
go get there? But you're like
well, it's hard work. It's talent. It's a little bit of luck. Connection, the right time, right place, right people. It's a lot of hard work because a lot of them win competitions. But I would have liked to know that before I jumped into like doing this, and before I was 25 when I was all sad. I really wish actually that would be my advice to aspiring musicians is to understand that the music career is actually very diverse. And to pigeonhole yourself into being like, I'm just going to win a competition and have a solo career.
That's not enough.
Well, it's so hard. So if and when they don't achieve it at the peak that they wish to, they get so sad. Yeah. So it's, I think, understanding that you're not a failure if that doesn't happen. Yeah, just open up your eyes and open up your heart to other things.
Well, in your opinion, like, what do you think a successful musician really means?
I think someone who's happy. Your success. If you're like really poor, but you're like having 20 concerts a year, and you're like, I'm happy with that. I'm happy. I love it. Then I think that's a successful musician. But like maybe if they're like still like eating ramen, like living out of a suitcase, but they love it.
They love it.
Then they're happy. Then they're successful. That's their success. You know, like this free music. You know, when we first started, it was like.
Were you like nervous?
No.
Oh, no.
Well. I mean, not really, because I was so busy with it. I mean, it was like 24/7.
Working on it.
And it still is, but then now that has to cut down because of hearing. And you know, maybe some people would be like, I don't know how you do that. It's like so much work. And I'm like, well, you know what? It doesn't feel like it because I love it. Yeah. So I think that's the biggest advice I would give to anyone who's trying to find their career path. Is just find something you love.
That's the key.
Yeah. And then you know what? If you want to do something you love and it happens to be music, and then everyone around you is like, how are you going to make money? You're going to fail because you're not going to make money. It's like, well, if you love it, go for it, and honestly, it will work out. If you love it, you will work so hard at it because you love it.
Okay, well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me.
Wait, thank you for being.
Thank you for having me.
Okay,
I have to teach.